We were muted. Joke's on you, Kim.
Hello, friends. Derek here. I've been wearing the same clothes for 3 days.
Not true. I put these sweats on this morning.
You are a liar, though.
I'm not such a liar. I swear to God, I put them on this morning. Hey, look, it's sunshine. Hello, friends. Welcome to Monday Night Type Ball. Tonight, we're competing types versus non-types. Or just anything, really. It just seemed like a snappy title. Monday Night Type Ball. Because, football season's over. Yesterday was the last football game. It was the Super Bowl, if you aren't aware of that. If you're not an American, if you're a foreigner, you might not be aware that yesterday was the Super Bowl. And the Los Angeles Rams, my hometown team, sadly lost to the New England Patriots in said Super Bowl by the paltry score of 10-3, which maybe it was 13-3. Which was, as you can imagine, a very dull game. I didn't enjoy it very much. Regardless, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to discuss. We're not here to discuss how much poop there is in my pants. That's a different topic. We're here to discuss cognitive functions, typology, typological functions, type cognins, cognitive type and so forth. It did stop raining. Hey, friends. Hey, Amber. Yay, Tom Brady. Boo, Tom Brady. Hi, Florian Bischoff. Glad to see you've survived the harsh German winter. Between two worlds. Hi. Still stuck between two worlds. Will you ever manage to get into one or the other of those two worlds? Every time I see you, I wonder. This limbo that BT Dub finds herself in. How awful it must be, stuck there, between two worlds. Hello, Red. Officer Red's here to pay a visit. Hi, Red. Oh, what a good chicken you are. What a very, very good chicken friend. Hi, Sheila W. Sheila W. says, hi, Eric and Kimberly.
Hello.
When your divorce is final. Yeah, I know about that. Between two worlds, I've got 2 divorces under my belt. I was asking her when she's going to get out from between two worlds, and she said, "When my divorce is final." So I've been thinking a lot today about anticipation and how much you need to know going into a situation. And so I considered I dropped my camera in a cup of coffee yesterday. I haven't really been able to get it clean. Really? I plan to get a new camera. This is like a $15 plug-in camera. And it's years old, so I'll probably just get another one. I'm thinking today about anticipatability, or how much you want to know before going into a scenario. So, like, here's the situation. Imagine yourself, you have plans to go out to dinner with a relative or something, okay? Like your brother or your father or something. But then at the last minute, it's Friday afternoon. Friday in the evening, you're done with all your responsibilities for the week. You're home from work or school or wherever, and you're about to get ready to go to go have dinner with a relative, when they call and tell you they have to cancel last second because they have a plumbing emergency at their house. And just as you hang up the phone, somebody comes in the door, a friend of yours, and says, "Hey, there's this party happening. Let's go." The question is, how much information do you need to know? And what information do you need to know before you say, okay, and hop in the car for a night of adventure? And my position here is that if you're an epistemologist, I'm not exactly sure who wants to know more. I know what Kimberly would want to know a lot before going on that. She'd want to know who's going to be there, she said specifically, and where it's at, who's going to be there. details like that. I would suspect an NI Dom would want to know what kind of party it is, and probably also who's going to be there, maybe, but specifically what kind of party it is, and maybe even some sort of, to the extent they're asking who's going to be there, they want to know which social circles are going to be crossing, so to speak. I would guess that's for that's like a distinction between INFJ and ISFJ, just a guess. I would imagine that your TI DOMs or your FI DOMs, they don't necessarily need to know a lot about, I guess what they need to know would be contingent on what they're paired with somewhat. So it's like, I would guess that an NE DOM and an SE DOM needs to know the least. So Jonah says IJ will want to know the most, EP the least in general. I agree with you, Jonah Dempsey. That's basically where I was going with this as well. And I'm curious. I was sort of trying to figure out a justification or a logic behind why it would be the case that the epistemologist would want to know more ahead of time than the deliberators. And the conclusion I came to is because they're paired with an interface function. So if you're going in with an interface function, you know you're going to get your hands dirty, that you're going to be interacting directly with the system, be it a problem you're solving. Like if you're a mechanic, you know you're going to get your hands dirty because you're interacting directly with a system you're trying to fix. If you're an FE user, you know you're going to get your hands dirty because you're going to be in the game, so to speak, where FE stuff's happening no matter what. So you want to make sure before going into an environment that it's conducive to your interface function, because you know you're going to get your hands dirty. Whereas with the deliberators and the action types, because those two go together, if you're an action type, foremost, you don't really want to know too much about it because you want as much flexibility as you can have going in, and it remains exciting to the extent that you don't know things about it, and you can operate in a more improvisational fashion. But if you're a deliberative type, I would imagine that you'd feel fairly similar, probably want to know a little bit more simply because you deliberate before you act. But when you're a deliberator actor, you're assuming you don't have to get your hands dirty. You can always stand on the sideline and deliberate. And if you choose to act, then you know it's a certain kind of behavior on that ecosystem that creates impacts, and it's not so much of a dance, right? So it's like the impacts don't necessarily get on you. Well, I think the FI deliberators will basically say, I need to know ahead of time how I feel about this. The TI deliberators, I don't think they're going to really need to know particularly anything ahead of time because it's not consistent with that metric. It's like the TI people are going to go, well, let me turn to FE to decide if I want to go because this is a party. Or if they were going to get involved, TI was going to get involved at all, would say, well, what kind of conversations are going to go on there? Is this going to be adequately? I mean, for TINE, it'll be, will this be adequately ideationally? Are these people are going to be going to be able to talk to me on a TINE level? But if it's FI, I guess you would be like, well, do I like the people who are going to be there, or do I not like them? So I guess it's a different kind of metric. Regardless, I think they're going to end up going with their action function as a deciding factor there. So it's like deliberators are more likely to go than knowledge types, and probably than interface types without more information based on their attachment to their tool function. Who won? Who won the type war? Who won the Monday Night Type Ball? We all win. We all win. Joyrider 97. Yeah. So, I mean, I think the point about that is deliberators are comfortable going into situations where you don't know in advance necessarily what's going to happen because they know that they presume that they can deliberate as much as they want before taking action. that they don't have to take action at any point. Whereas interfaces assume they do have to take action. That's why they need to know better in advance what the environment's going to be in which they take action. And so, yeah, that's what I was thinking about today. Trying to work it out in my head a little bit. Everybody does get a trophy. Some of them say, good job. Some of them say, terrible job, though. So you gotta look carefully at what your trophy says. Britta Lee! Eric, what type came up with participation trophies? Fucking ENFPs or INFPs, probably. I think it's important for me to know what kind of people are there, because then I can decide if it's going to be interesting and worth it. Ideal setting, like party with 10 people mostly. And what makes it interesting and worth it is the conversation, or what? Yeah, I know she's roasting herself. Delta NF are the dirtiest commies. I knew it. They're not dirty commies. They're just very, very damp. Okay, so the problem is they keep dipping their tenders into our raisin sauce. Tenders don't dip well into raisin sauce. They dip well into salty moisture. Raisin sauce is a drying agent, so they're contraindicated. Stop dipping your tenders into my raisin sauce is a sign I have on the house. Hey, just got here. You're great. Thanks, Sheldon. Are you talking to me or EW Childlers? Who are we hating on? We're hating on, let's see. Let's hate on Alaskans. Fucking Alaskans. I hate them. Always being up in Alaska and long days, long nights, lots of mosquitoes. Come on, Alaskans, shut up. There. Even when it's a big party, I end up talking to someone for 5 hours. So you end up isolating with one person, probably. Yeah, I mean, that's typical for TIs. They're not going to be looking to be so much of a social butterfly. MJ, if I'm looking good, I'm going, so long as I know somebody at the party. All right, you'd have to check, see. You probably want to. Well, you probably want to know what kind of party it is. I go, oh, it's a goat slaughtering party. We're all getting together to slaughter goats. We need to kill about 400 of them. We're calling the herd because there's a goat disease going around. Want to come? Or even worse, it's a Tupperware party. I'm going to pressure you into buying Tupperware that you don't want. Let's see here. What types or functions? OMJ, I don't think you should have worn that dress to the goat slaughtering party. Yeah, it's gonna need to go to the dry cleaners several times after tonight is over. Let's see, what types or functions like people doing things for them, like cooking, labor, cleaning it. That's not a type or function thing. I mean, everybody likes people doing certain things for them. It just depends on what you like others to do for you. So I like that kind of doing thing. Like I like it when Kimberly breads me cook food, but it's not because I like her doing labor or cleaning for me or cooking for me. It's that I like being presented food because it solves so many of my problems.
And somebody's got to clean the house.
And I have no problem helping cleaning too. And I try to be helpful to Kimberly as well and do things. So it's not like, it just depends on what you're interested in getting from another person. Queen Beast. Strangely, although I'm a social introvert, I prefer parties with many people, over 100. That way, less focus is directed towards me. Then perhaps it's not strangely. Yes, I'm talking to you, famous person. Thanks, Sheldon XNTP. You're on my list of people to type police. E.W. Childers, lucky bastards. Sounds fun. I feel that's wrong. Mad goat disease. Ew, Tupperware. Yeah, I won't wear white to go to a goat slaughter party. Yeah, you really shouldn't. You really shouldn't. Unless you want to diet. ESFP. What about ESFP? Stay at the party until nobody is left but you and the host, awkwardly sitting next to each other on the couch at 5 a.m. and they want you to leave but won't ask because it's rude or something. Is that your strategy for the party? It's like I'm intentionally going in, intent on bad FE. I got an ENTJ buddy. He revels in people performing services, etc. Well, because he thinks he's getting shit done or something. I don't know. I'd never knowingly attend a goat sacrificing party to religious. That's not why they're killing them. They have a disease. They have to call the herd or else they could kill. They've got a herd of 2,000 goats. They need to kill 400 of them, or else the other 1,600 might be at risk. Goat symbolism everywhere. Being annoyingly passive aggressive is the best way. Oh no, face palm. I like problem solving food too. Not so much the problem causing food. Yeah, some food is problem causing. Why is Kim never on cam? Lol, hi Kim. She doesn't like to be on camera. I don't know why. She just has her reasons. Sometimes she'll be on camera once in a while, but she likes to sort of have her arm within camera's range. She likes to see herself wave periodically in the camera, but doesn't want to look at her whole body or something. I don't know why.
Because I look like a housefrau most of the time.
A housefrau? Nothing sexier than a housefrau.
Exactly.
I'm serious, though. Okay, like, bro, my INTJ needs to know everything about a party before going there. He makes a mental plan of possible conversations, drugs to take, etc. before going there. How awful that must be. I mean, I could understand needing to plan your drugs ahead of time. That I can understand. My dad is an ENTJ and is deaf, enjoys other people taking basic things off his plate. Yeah, well, I mean, everybody enjoys people taking basic things off their plate, right? Or maybe not. Pampered Chef party, I'm all about it.
Yeah, you are all about it.
Pampered Chef party, that's like Tupperware? Looks like a lady's head with a frying pan with an egg in it. Because Kim is smart.
That's why I'm not on camera, they're saying.
Oh, Florian, it sounds like he's an Aspie. I don't know who's an Aspie. I can't really tell much about that unless other signs are there. What's an Aspie? Hey, Eric, odd question, but what were the other MBTI types you married? First one was probably an INFP. Yeah. The second one was an ESFJ. Lol, what? Rowan Morgan. I'm a fan of the channel, but rarely comment. The ideal party is one attended by people who have interesting ideas that challenge my own and provide new insights. Well, that would seem to be a TI or TE approach to a party. Haha, I'm just joking because I was diagnosed as being very high functioning for real. Very high functioning what? Hi, Kim. You know you're fierce and fabulous and SAF. What's S stand for? I know what the AF stands for.
Yeah.
His ex-wife was ESFJ.
Well, I suppose.
IIRC. What's IIRC mean? You have major delay and it's making me feel like I'm in a time warp. I like your distinction between absolutely relative and relatively absolute. Can this concept be extended to the types? Could you determine what each type is likely to favor in thinking and talking? Yeah, sure. It's basically if you've got TEFI in the front stack, then you're absolutely relative. And if you've got TIFE in the front stack, then you're relatively absolute. Now, it's true that SI and SE and NE and NI also have objective or subjective statuses, but they don't really function as criteria. So it's really just, you just look at the TIFE for the kind who want shit to be communicably defensible. ASP equals Asperger's. Okay. What's wrong with Aspies? I don't know. No wonder you hate on INFPs. I knew it. I don't hate on INFPs. I like INFPs. They're nice. Asperger's. The ideal party for me is one where there's alcohol. I then provide all the insight needed. You sound like an ENTP. Oh, that's a very ENTP 2 sentences right there. If I recall correctly, thank you for clarifying that for me, EW Childers. The best party is one with hundreds of people that last all weekend as 24/7 dance music. Well, that does sound like a good party. If you didn't have to stay there the whole time. Ideally, you just go there a couple of little bits of time. Sheldon XNTP. I've considered it, but I do not think so because he doesn't have a lot of other symptoms. Teacup Noir. Currently attempting to date an INTJ long distance. Long distance relationships are sorrowful and sad. I don't know what's going to happen because he's attractive but intense and thinks too much. I'm afraid he will ruin it. He's also 14 years older. Well, he might not. I mean, if you're going to have a long distance relationship with somebody, an INTJ is not a bad choice. They might just, they don't care about the FE of it. And FE type's going to be like eventually, okay, you need to start making yourself somehow. This needs to be, I'm not getting mine, In that regard, FE types are kind of more selfish. They expect more fairness. Hi, Rowan Morgan. Welcome. I concur with the ideal party comment. Why is he even with you? Who? INFPs get insulted too soon, in my opinion. Well, they do get a little feelings hurt. Hi, LJ. He will ruin it. INTJ is going to ruin it, according to Spaceman. I'm either ENTP or INTP. Best estimate says EW Childers. Okay. I agree with you based on my one comment analysis. Sheldon XNTP. Florian, it's all good. People don't think I have it either. You'll be surprised how subtle it can be. How subtle what can be? A penis? Florian, Sheldon, don't worry about it. They can be very subtle, but they're there. Have you come across intuition presented as an information gathering function? Have you heard it in an emotional intelligence course I've had? Oh, you heard it in an emotional intelligence course you've had. I mean, intuition is, it's not an information gathering function. I guess sort of it is. Like introverted intuition kind of passively gathers information, and then once it's gathered enough, it collapses it down into something distinct from the parts that it collapsed it from. Extroverted intuition is an ideational process, so it's not information gathering. It's information generating. So I wouldn't call, you might call NI a information metabolizing function like socionics does, but I wouldn't call it an information gathering function. Yes, we so are good. Point. Is it possible to type gangs? Like, for example, California gangs, swearnos and weirdos. What type is gang culture? Is there a type most likely to join a gang? I have no idea what the difference between those two gangs are or anything about gangs, really. I would just say that gang culture, it seems to be very heavily FE in that there's a lot of affirmation that goes into getting people to join this cult, basically. It's a cult. Yeah. Gangs are just cults that identify as gangs. Is there a type most likely to join a gang? I mean, somebody who really needs to belong to something because it doesn't have any family or something, I guess. Okay. Intuition, in its essence, is the manifestation of the most primitive areas of the brain, the ones that develop first according to evolutionary theory, which are the sections of the limbic system. So it's kind of ironic how it's commonly looked upon as a state of cognitive advancement or ascension in MBTI or Jung. Well, it's certainly not a state of cognitive advancement or ascension. That's true. To talk about cognitive functions is to divide the entirety of conscious being into channels that behave as functions do, So I agree with you there. I don't agree with you about the evolutionary argument, but that's fine. Doesn't any gather information, specifically patterns it's noticed? No, I don't think so. I think any is NE is working off of SI's accumulated information about what's already been done by me, plus NI's accumulated information about what's already been done by others to try to say something new about something. And it's not really actively pushing to check that all the time. I'm just saying that's sort of the underlying engine of it. And as you get older and you are an extroverted intuitor for longer and longer and longer, you get more refined in the execution of it. If you're trying to, if it matters, if you're trying to grow or trying to understand more or something, then you do eventually. It's like, I'm pretty fluid with my extroverted intuition when speaking on the fly like this. I don't have a lot of interruptions with filler words, unnecessary pauses, and so forth, because I've done it for so many years, and I'm doing it under the umbrella of extroverted feeling. That is to say, I want to do socially what I want it to do as far as other people's perceptions of me. I want people to want to listen to me. So those things combined necessarily cause it to become what it is. That is, you start expressing ideational growth on a metaphysical flow off of nubs, little nubs of things. So I don't know. I wouldn't call it gathering. It does work off of existing knowledge, of course, but that doesn't mean it's gathering. Do you think TI dominance has a sort of similar perfectionism that could be compared to NI dominant because TI wants everything to be perfectly logically consistent? Well, I think TI doms have one of two problems. Either they're so interested in checking to make sure everything's logically consistent and then doing it that they can't ideate out of TI. So in other words, they're sure they've got it for sure, but they didn't anticipate this argument or this argument, and they end up losing. That's ISTP. So because they're so committed to doing that which they've logically concluded, that which they've deliberated as legitimate, they're so concerned about then doing it that they don't ideate out. They habitually don't ideate out other possible ways that they could be defeated. So ISTP is very vulnerable argumentationally. They might be convinced in their own head that their position is logically airtight, but that's because they're not doing any extroverted intuition. They're testing all the possible different ideas that might be thrown at it. In contrast, INTP has the opposite problem. They are so busy deliberating and thinking about all the different possible arguments for everything that they never commit to anything and do anything. And so those are the extremes. Those are extreme examples of ISTPs and INTPs. INTPs it's not the case that INTPs don't ever do anything. Of course they do. It's not the case that ISTPs never have any capacity to come up with an idea. Of course they do. But the point is, you get the gist of it, that you can't have your cake and eat it too. So for INTPs, because they're deliberators and then they're ideators, they want to deliberate, and then when it's time to act, they want their action to be ideational. And because that's consistent with a loop of more deliberation. Well, I hear I've ideated that. Wow. Thanks, Amber. That's amazing. I appreciate that. Because when totally derailed my train of thought. Anyway, thank you. When INTPs are ideational, then they're coming up with other possible ways that the thing that could be they've been deconstructing can be further deconstructed. They're negational by nature because of the TI. That is to say, it looks for things. TI-NE is going to look for things that can find are wrong, because everything's trying to establish definitive shit, and then TI-NE goes, well, here's some other possibilities. We need to deliberate more. TI-NE are great together if you want to sit around and come up with all the reasons why everything's wrong and never commit to anything and never do anything, right? You're only doing things on the metaphysical plane, and it's mostly negationary. So you got to kind of recognize that we have to, each of us, become affirmational in life towards certain things. I think it has to do with faith, whether it's just faith in the importance of your work, faith in your job, that you're critical to the community in your job or something, or faith in faith in your relationship, or faith in, and you gotta have trust for you get real rewards. And that means having the faith in the thing that, if it doesn't work, you have a lot of faith in it, but if it fails, it's going to hurt bad. To have the faith and do it anyway. That's really, I think, the key to realizing the self ultimately, no matter what type you are. If you had one universal thing, it would be trust in something, and trust in some sort of affirmation, or trust in negation. Like, who needs to trust in negation? ESFPs. I was listening in the car today to that video that I watched the other night, or that I made the other night with, or maybe it was last night, with Anthony, and it's about that lady who thinks she's an INTJ, but there's zero resemblance at all to an INTJ, right? Like, what? I get the fact that ESFPs are. I do understand why, on sort of a systems analysis way. I get why they think they are something else, because they got 4 slot NI, and they've got 8 slot NE, and they've got polar TI. And so, it's understandable that they're going to not be approaching it from exactly a very truth-based or resonance-based or logical-based angle. So, but nevertheless, I just can't even conceive of being that confused about one's similarity descriptions. So this question here, how does one gain that faith? I mean, probably it's usually something encouraging. Well, for me, it was something encouraging that persisted a little bit. So, the first thing I had to do was get humbled a bit. When I stopped teaching special ed and went into teaching English, I worked for a place called Samuelson Grammar, and Mr. Samuelson was my boss, and he taught me how to teach. And I thought I knew how to teach because I had been a teacher in special ed for years. But you don't actually learn how to teach anything in special ed, because it's not really teaching; it's custodial work. So then I started teaching English, and at first I assumed I knew better than everybody else about it, because of course I know better than everybody about everything. And it shortly, and it weighs into it, I sort of had a come to Jesus moment where my boss, Mr. Samuelson, sat me down and was saying, like, you're not doing a good job, and if you want to keep your job, you're going to have to do a better job. And so I humbled myself at that point, and actually tried to learn from him, and ceased to know myself with my lack of experience, but just with my ignoring NI, I guess, and started to learn things. And then that taught me not only about learning how to do a craft of sorts, but it taught me about learning in general, how important it is to learn and not to always be the one who knows everything. So, because, you're not. And the thing is, in certain frames of reference, you can do battle and either win or lose, and that's great. But if you're trying to eliminate vulnerability from yourself by having all the answers, that's not the answer for sure. Listen, but yeah, I want to answer that question. How does one gain that faith better or something? It's because you can choose to. First of all, you got to choose to let go of your attachment to nihilism in any of its veiled forms, and it runs the gamut of meaninglessnesses. Like, some reason or another, shit doesn't matter. Some reason or another, fuck it. Some reason or another, this thing isn't worth investing my faith in and risk into. It's not worth investing my ontological wealth into. It's easy to say that about everything, because it's safer inherently to not invest any ontological wealth into things. And what I mean by that is, it's scary to start writing a novel, because you start to invest a little bit of yourself into the idea of writing a novel, and then you only write a chapter. And then you're worse off than you were before you even started it. Now you've just written a chapter and you never even finish it, and you can never finish anything. And I can never stick to anything, all that kind of stuff, right? But that's the wrong frame, because what you should be saying is, I have a chapter of a book I didn't have before, and maybe I'll finish it later, or maybe I won't. But at least I have a chapter I didn't finish before. And yeah, okay, I'm tired of writing about that idea. That was a bad book idea. I'm gonna start another one. This time I'm gonna try to get to 2 chapters before starting over. It's like you gotta just there's lots of reasons to be afraid in life, lots of reasons to not do shit. I'm afraid of shit all the time. Like, I mean, perfect example, when I didn't like what was happening around the channel, for example, like people were mad at me, and I was getting messages that were like, Eric, you are not acting okay, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know, this was a few months ago. I just ran away, basically. I just stopped looking at Facebook entirely, and I stopped checking my email, and I stopped going on the channel, and I just started doing stuff around here, and put my fingers in my ears and close my eyes, and that was it, That's the kind of shit that I try to stop myself from doing. I need to remember that there's nothing to be scared of. It's like, just because there's some unpleasantness doesn't mean I have to avoid it. Anyway, I'm not an answer. That's not a good answer to your question. It's just, it's not that you have to find faith. You have to give up your attachment to a lack of faith. Okay, so let's see here. Anyone who thinks they know everything will always be stuck. Education is always changing, just as the world is always changing. Yes, INTPs are often more reserved and noticeably spend time within their heads. With ENTPs, it's still possible for them to be socially reserved. The difference between them and INTPs is quite dramatic, says Queen Beast. I'm going to add the end of your sentence for you. Something like that. Yeah, ENTPs and INTPs are very different in their displays. I am very, although in some ways quite similar. Like, INTPs will enjoy spending time in a room online with other introverts, hanging out, all of them on their computers, doing independent things, and occasionally sharing thoughts in the chat, like a study group almost, except they're not studying anything. They're just playing video games and shit by themselves, but together it's a weird phenomenon. I think INTPs want to be as almost as socially engaged as ENTPs, but they just want to control the channels of social engagement more, because they don't like the FE requirements of social engagement. That's what I think here. I appreciate the channel's acceptance of this ENFP participation. Well, Amber, thank you. And we appreciate this ENFP participation for sure. And Queen Bee says she never regrets stepping here. Thank you, Queen Bee. I appreciate that. A little bit of a love fest. I mean, I just can't say strongly enough how much how valuable this whole community and YouTube is to me in my life and stuff. I was thinking also in the car today about how much more refined my arguments and my deliveries and stuff have gotten as a consequence of having to create in the crucible of YouTube, because it is that if you want to create stuff that's confrontational in some capacity, as I typically do, or you want to create stuff that makes claims, asserts claims and says, I am right and this is wrong and stuff like that, you are going to encounter plenty of feedback that shapes a person very meaningfully and effectively. So it's like I've learned to understand other people's response to things as expressions, often of their own FE shit, but sometimes of straight up TI shit, sometimes of reflective of TE. I basically get to see the whole range of possible responses to my various behaviors, and my behaviors naturally change accordingly. I mean, I'm being trained by YouTube to be a more FE good, FE successful person, you know, to be more likable and less mean and more engaging and less haughty and less pedantic and less overly wordy, and you know, all the things that take away from the NI resonance of anything that I might make. It gets gradually ground away by YouTube, which I think is a good thing. I mean, I want to make media that people want to watch. I want to make media that resonates such that people go, wow, you know, rather than media that makes people go, oh, that's cool. Or, you know, there's a whole range of things. And I got to experience them all by making all these YouTube videos. I had some videos where I make them, people go, wow. And that's really great when that happens. It's like, you know, as an FE third slot person, I really eat that shit up. And then, but I also love the fact that I can rely on the honesty of the platform. Like, you know, if a video's, some people just like thumbs down the shit out of some videos because they just don't like them because I'm being too meh, 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 or whatever. So, you know, I never take them down, but I learn from them. Sometimes I'll go in making a video going, okay, Eric, get ready. People are not going to like this one. But if I'm feeling mad, usually I just put it up anyway. You know, those are usually my mad videos. My mad videos don't do very well. I think me mad and being all scoldy of something makes for great entertainment, but you know, only some few of my subscribers seem to agree with that. I gotta pull this bong, and I've been sitting here bogarting the bong for ages. That was a good bong rip. It was resonant with my heart and my soul. Welcome to Poetry Slam 2019. My name is Maurice Jurgensen, and I'm going to be the first speaker today in Poetry Slam. My poem is called My Heart, My Soul. My heart, my soul, inside of me. That's where it lives, out in the street, in the ghetto, where everybody fights. Oh, the pain that I experience whilst living in said environment. Oh, the pain that I experience when I see two loved ones fighting one another with their fists. Don't come here to the ghetto, Mr. White Man, and take away my child. The end. Thanks. I think I won the Poetry Slam. Poetry Slam. Okay, so what else was I gonna talk about today? Peace, y'all. Gonna try to my girlfriend in a video sometime. What does that mean? On YouTube, nothing else. Gonna try to. Gonna cry to? Is C next to T? No. Gonna fry to? Release your inner FI. If I were a superpower, if I were a superhero, and I wanted to get to my maximum state of superpower, then you have to release your seventh function. So, like, for ENTP to maximally become super ENTP, it's got to be all. That's how you go Super Saiyan in ENTP. For some reason, I get kind of envious whenever Eric casually lights his cigar on his screen. He does it in such a nonchalant way that it actually does look unusually cool. Thank you, Queen Beast. It's a cigarette, not a cigar, but I appreciate the sentiment anyway. Hi, all, says Richard L. He actually says hi at all. Hello, Richard L., says I in return. Okello, what do you think was the most common type for prehistoric hunter-gatherer societies? I would imagine the type demographics have always been as they are now. I don't see why they would change. If it is, in fact, I mean, okay, the best guess would be that probably type is determined by things like hormones when you're in utero. And so, in regards to that, it would be, the demographics would be reflective of the levels of stress, possibly, of the populations. Just a thought. I don't know. You got to keep faith. How does one release their inner TE? That's a challenging question for me. I have trouble releasing my inner TE all the time. All I can say about it is focus on the problem in front of you and do not try to use your SI. SITE people presumably can get those two together, no problem. But for me, SI heuristics of TE usually lead me astray in some fashion if I try to follow them. Follow what the problem tells you to do, not what your thinking tells you to do. Am I a veterinarian, or a veteran? I'm neither a veterinarian nor a veteran. This jacket is a sort of army jacket looking thing. What personality type will future AI robots have? They'll all be Enneagram 2. It doesn't matter what personality type is, they'll all be Enneagram 2. No, let me help you. I want to help. Let me help you. Here, I'll carry those bags for you. That's what I want all robots to be like. I want them to be like ESFJ women or something. ESFJ women with an insecurity complex. That's how I want to program all the robots. Be constructive, not destructive. Words are important. Be effective. Are those lyrics in the George Michael song? Or what? I mean, I would generally agree with that. Words are important, and words, it's like people use words not necessarily carefully. Different people take words more seriously than others too. Can you describe SI and NI with regard to object and experiential permanence? Well, experiential permanence. So I guess you could call it object permanence is the notion that my perspective on the thing is sufficient to predict in the future where things are going to be. So because I remember seeing my bong here earlier, when I come back later, if I'm later, I go, I wonder where my bong is. Oh, that's right. I remember. I saw it back here. It's here. That means it has permanence beyond my perception, but it also means that my perception can predict, my knowledge of the past can predict the future. So because I know this is where it was, I know that's where it's going to be again. In contrast, NI doesn't take that approach. It would be more likely to say, well, the bong's where the bong goes, wherever that might be. So, but regardless, NI is going to be more about, it's not going to concern itself so much with that. SI types, they keep track of all their shit. Kimberly knows where all of her objects are, what objects she has, and where they all are. Or if she doesn't know where they are, then she knows she doesn't know where they are. She can keep track of shit that is, and nobody would imagine keeping track of. Like, but I know I have the lid to this thing, and it used to be there, Eric, and you moved it. And I'm like, fuck, how does she know this? I used that lid and some experiment with my torch, and now it's destroyed. What am I gonna do? So yeah, there's their quality. NI people don't keep track of all their various objects like that, and they don't know exactly what they have because they're not so interested in concerning themselves about previous resources. And that's what object permanence is previous resources. What do I know already about this object that will let me predict where it's going to be in the future? Instead, NI is concerned with shape constancy. In other words, what do I know about the nature of things that will allow me to predict given these specifics? So, given these specifics that I observe, what can I know from intuition? Versus given these specifics that I observe, what do I already know from past experience? That's why intuition is more creational in a sense than in SI. I hope that was answer enough. I hope you're doing well, Eric INFP. Well, I hope you're doing well as well, Hayden Capadona. I'm assuming you're saying you're an INFP, so welcome. Queen Beast Okello ISFJ at Okello ISFJ. I gave it some thought. I lose stuff all the time. Michael Thompson, so do I. Snap Snap Poetry, indeed. Lol, not even kidding. How does the SI-NI difference relate to aging and Alzheimer's? It's really interesting seeing my mom experience dementia. She knows who I am. Like, she recognizes me and is happy to see me. And, you know, she's most comfortable with my dad around her, second with me, and third anybody else. So she feels pretty safe if I'm keeping company with her. But if I leave her with Kim after a little while, she starts getting a little anxious sometimes. You know, anyway, regardless, she said to me earlier today, so did you have a lot of brothers and sisters? You know, I'm her only child. So that means she obviously doesn't keep track of the long-term reference points, right? She no longer knows the NI about me. She no longer knows the truth about who I am. But she knows the SI. She knows that I'm that guy who she likes and that she's comfortable with and familiar with. So it's interesting to think of it in cognitive function terms. And it's interesting also in that she still has SI knowledge that she references, but she has trouble with the language part of it. Again, it would seem like the NI is gone. So, like, for example, I had to climb up a ladder to go fix this leak at my dad's house. He wanted me to put a bead of caulk up there, a bead of caulk. And I did. Anyway, the whole rest of the day, I was training with my mom that day. My mom kept referencing it. She didn't have the words to describe it. She'd say things like, you went up and... So she was clearly remembering it from an SI perspective, right? But she didn't have the language to even say anything meaningful about it. So in that regard, I think that's basically what it boils down to is we have long-term SI memories and we have short-term SI memories. But that part where we go, this is my son and he's my only child and my life story includes these facts about it, these known truths or whatever, that kind of stuff is more language-based, really links more strongly to NI, and then it's the experiential rememberings that link more strongly to SI. I tend to have this sort of hybrid thing because I'm an intuition dom. I have my SI doesn't comprise experiential memories very strongly. It comprises mostly word meanings that I took away from those memories. So in that sense, it's more NI-ish in nature, even though I'm an SI user. So anyway, that gets a little bit muddled in there, what I just said. I always try to keep stuff in the same places. Like I have a drawer for all my smoking utensils. I try to keep stuff in the same places with mixed amounts of success. Sometimes I can keep it there for a while. Sometimes something will finally settle into a place after it's moved to multiple places for a long time. Kimberly and I are always trying to rearrange the house and get it organized properly, but we'll never will. I don't think we ever will. Because, of course, situations change. You know, if you're doing a lot of meow right now, then you'll need to have the house set up like this. But if you're doing a lot of meow, then you need to have the house set up like this. What are your thoughts on the Enneagram test? Apologies, you discussed it before. Why do MBTI types have a few different Enneagram possibilities, for example? I mean, I like Enneagram fine. I just think that it talks about your emotional approach towards things rather than your attentional approach. So it's saying, what's your habitual emotional response towards conflict? Is it to withdraw? Is it to avoid? Is it to withdraw? Or is it to engage? That's an emotional angle. It doesn't tell you how you're engaging or how you're withdrawing or how you're avoiding. It doesn't tell you how you're paying attention. It just says it's an emotional angle. It's a motivational calculus, basically. So I think it's complementary with MBTI. I don't refer to it a lot or use it a lot, but sometimes I mean, the most useful number of all in that is 8, because 8 explains so much, you know. Why is he so fighty? Why does he keep? Because he's 8. That means he responds to anger with anger. He responds to come at me, bro, with no, you come at me, bro. And that can be on a physical or an intellectual level. He's going to respond 8. I get that. And you say, well, why does he do that? Well, it's because we each have a different approach to dealing with anger, shame, and fear, which are the 3 core human emotions. You could say that they all collapse to fear, that anger is a function of fear, and that which you are angry at is, I mean, in some way it's unacceptable to you. Whether you are afraid of it or not is another question, but it's unacceptable to you in a way that suggests its ascendancy threatens you, and that makes you fearful in some regard. And the same with shame. Shame is a fear that what's already happened has rendered you not worthy of love, of affirmation, of whatever. That's in its most intense form. Of course, there can be shame, like I can very much feel ashamed of myself for short periods of time over stupid ass shit like saying the wrong word in a sentence or something. Like that can make me go, I cannot believe you said that. I hope nobody catches that. Oh my God, you used the wrong word. You didn't mean copious. You meant copacetic. that shit I used to tweak out on that shit all the time. Like, oh my God, I'm such a fucking loser. I can't believe I did that. But I don't do that shit anymore. I don't believe in hating on myself. Let's see. I work with dementia patients daily. It's interesting that the brain holds memories so strongly from music. I haven't really played a lot of music to my mom. Not music she's familiar with anyway. I'll have to try that. Luke, I'm your father. NI or SI? That's an NI thing for sure. It only matters to Luke that he's his father for NI reasons, right? He has no experience. Oh my God, Dad, you've been missing for a year. Where'd you go? I spent all this time with you. I went on all those picnics with you. We loved each other. What's going on here? That's SI. You know, it doesn't matter that Darth Vader is Luke's father, NI to an SI dom. It was just some random dude. You know, like, I don't care if you shot sperm into my mom. So how does second slot SI compared to first, third, or fourth? ESTJs and ESFJs. You don't. I mean, you see the SI in the regularity of things, and in the recalling of things, and in the preference for attending to existing resources, developing, growing those. So, especially in the ESTJ, like they're all about what resources do we have now, and how can we utilize these effectively. And where are we going to get our next resources from? What do we already know in place? Where are our channels of resources that are already existent? And then only once they've attended to all of that, if they have a little time left, they might do a little bit of, well, what other possibility thing could I use this for? A little bit, because they're in the third slot, you know, with the NE. And with the ESFJs, Jesus, it's raining hard. With the ESFJs, it's like the same thing, but it's all about social perceptions, and they're kind of nutty in the way that they don't care about anything being true. It only matters if it matches up with the form. So it's like my ex-wife Candace would tell me, well, I'd say, well, okay, well, what do you want for you, Eric? You need to get me something for Valentine's Day or something. Okay, well, what do you want me to get you? So I want you to write me a love letter, and I want it to say these sort of things and these sort of things and these sort of things. And I said, well, people, that's not really me, right? That's I can write the thing you want, but I wouldn't naturally write that way. I'm not saying I don't love you. I'm saying that's not how I would express it. I don't care. I just want you to do it. Okay. I'd write her a love letter that said basically what she wanted me to say and stuff, and she would cherish it. You might think that's crazy. That's anti-polar. So you got to worry about that a little bit. The anti-polar sometimes can be frustrating because there could be, like, for example, I can tell you anti-polar today with my dad. So my dad wanted to go on this trip to Virginia, and he wanted me and Kimberly to go with him and my mom so that we could help take care of my mom because she's not really. She's a handful if you're one person dealing with her. Okay. So then after he sent out the email to me and Kim saying, let's do this thing, then like the next day, mom had a bad day and he had a rough experience with her and he was having a hard time keeping an eye on her. Every time he'd turn around, she'd wander off and blah, blah, blah. And so, okay. So cancel this trip idea. We're not going to do this after all. Okay. I was too ambitious. I don't know what I was thinking. We can't do this. All right. That's SI tool. Now, the truth is it wouldn't be a problem if Kimberly and me and my dad were on this trip and there were 3 adults to take care of my mom. That wouldn't be a problem. It would be fine. Everything would be fine. But my dad can't get past the experience he had of a rough day yesterday and seeing he innings out the possible ways how this could impact his trip. And he doesn't want to be out another $4,000 like he was for the last trip to Pennsylvania where he was about to go and then mom had an episode and then we couldn't and we had to cancel everything. And that's just money out of my pocket, Eric. And Dad, just sometimes listen to the truth, right? The truth is you, me, and Kim could handle this trip just fine. Kim and I would be happy to go with you guys. We'll take care of mom. You can have Richmond. You can have, all the time you want with your sister. You need this trip. Lonnie's about to die. That's my uncle. Or he's not well. And Ev's getting really old. And go do this while mom is still mobile because she's eventually, dementia ends up with people not really being mobile anymore, not getting up and walking around. It's not just their mind goes. Eventually they sort of stop getting out of bed. So, it's like, to me, the truth is pretty clear here. Number one truth being that my dad needs to take this trip more than he needs to prevent difficulties with mom on a trip. And I did offer the suggestion that why don't you let mom stay with me and Kim and you go on the trip by yourself? And he said, okay, well, I'll think about that. That's a possibility. And of course, he's missing, again, the NI truth. If Kim and I can take care of mom at our house or your house here adequately while you're gone, then the 3 of us can take care of her on the trip. Plus, if she starts freaking out, they gave my dad pills like I guess they're sedatives of some sort in case she starts freaking out. But I was just going to tell him, look, Dad, it's about time we sat down and had a conversation about edibles. We'll just get a bunch of edibles around here. And if she starts getting weird, starts getting like frantic-y or running around and shit, and like, I've got to, sometimes she'll be like, I've got to go see the people down there, and nobody knows what she's talking about, of course. And then she wanders out onto the street and starts walking down there, insistent that she's got to go see some people, that aren't, that don't exist. So anyway, it's like, just give her some edibles. Go chill out a little bit, watch TV, be high. Anyway, that's what I think he should do. So, and I could bring those to him easily enough. Okay, but NI truths can be difficult to formulate into language, so I actually identify more with a relatively absolute frame. Okay, let's see. I understand that absolute relative language and type would be most strongly correlated to TI in the cognitive stack. As my INFJ, my third slot TI desires that I am absolutely relative in talking, but your NI truths can be difficult because you identify with the relatively absolute frame. Well, that's not entirely surprising. It's rather self-aware about your NI in some sense. NI is not defensible argumentationally. That's not what makes it. It's not. The singularity frame is different than than either the relative absolute or absolutely relative frame. The singularity frame is one that says basically I operate under the assumption that there is a single best answer and it does resolve the question at hand. Even if that single best answer is this is unanswerable or it's a question that includes contradictory premises or something like that, that there's some singular resolution to all questions if you can get them phrased down to their correct phrasing, that you can reduce it to something that can be singularized. I would say that's your implicit frame, probably not the absolutely relative frame. So you got it backwards. Relatively absolute is TI. Absolutely relative is TE, because it's absolutely relative. It's like I got first place in the Olympics. I got a gold medal. It's absolute, and it's just for me. You don't get anything for that. So in the same sense, it's like, your conclusions in the absolutely relative frame are absolute. They're impacts that are being measured. But whether or not those impacts being measured are a good or bad thing, or desirable or generalized or anything like that, that's entirely dependent on your frame of reference. So that's what makes it absolutely relative to whoever's looking at it. Whereas the TI one is relatively absolute. It's absolute relative to other thus defined objects and to agreement, like statuses between people, like that. Okay, doom is boss. Doom is boss, sludge is doom, and therefore sludge is boss. Good logic. Mine actually can be difficult for Space Doom. What part of Virginia Bridgman? I'm way behind. I'm not too far behind. Spaceman, I mean, I see where you're coming from, and I do agree. I'm Brenna Lee. I had to do extensive research to pin mine down because I'm Brenna Lee and I understand it, but doing so provides me with a lot of information, a lot of aha information, because I'm Brenna Lee. Yeah, it's pretty much look at all the information out there, find the pattern, and compare, contrast. That's what you got to do, says Brenna Lee. Thanks, Brenna Lee. I appreciate you sharing. I like how Brenna Lee has a mic. Nobody else in the chat seems to have a mic, but Brenna Lee does. I've been listening to a band called Autism. I've been listening to an autistic named band. Sin flow and contraflow is the most interesting thing to look at. I'm sorry. Sin flow and contraflow is the most interesting thing to look at. Do benzos work for dementia? I don't know. I've never really taken benzos, so I mean, I probably have once, twice, but working way. Working what way? Well, I guess to chill them out, to make them go, to stop being so. Because see, the thing is, what happens with mom sometimes is when problems arise is because mom gets frantic about something, and it's often just some imaginary thing, like she needs to go see the people down the street that don't exist, right? That's exactly the sort of thing that happens. And she'd be very insistent about it and be like, "You need to get out of my way," and she's determined that if she doesn't get there, that something terrible is going to happen. So I don't know. It's like in those circumstances, what are you gonna do? I have my strategies that I use when she starts getting anxious. I change the subject and I just I collapse her mental state basically by peppering her with different questions about shit that links to her SI so that she loses track of what she's doing. My dad doesn't seem to be as clever as I am in regards to dealing with my mother. He doesn't seem to get that there's lots of things we can do, Dad. It's not just your TE. Well, I've TE'd this. Like things he does is like he gives my mom assignments. Like he'll say, "Okay, Jane, now listen, I need you to fill this out, okay?" And he'll give her some old bill from like 1992. They have file cabinets and file cabinets of every fucking piece of paper they've ever gotten in their life. And he'll tell her to fill it out, and she'll start underlining shit and writing words down. And okay, now David, what am I doing here again? But what's this? Just write that there down, Jane, and then she'll work on it for a while. You know, that's his strategy of dealing with her just need to be dealt with all the time. That's the deal. Is she needs to be dealt with all the time in one way or another. She needs to sit there. You need to sit with her and talk with her and just listen to her yammer, babble, kind of. Or you need to direct her attention to something so that she's occupied. But because she's FE tool user, I guess, she really wants to chat all the time, you know, and she's not really saying anything. So you just sort of take her around. She likes driving in the car places, and they'll read all the signs out, like, you know, exit 44. Is that the one we're going to get off on? No, Mom, we're not going to get off there. So, yeah, it's been really interesting for me. I felt really emotional today. I thought to myself how much I appreciated everything that my mom had done for me and what a great mom she'd been. And I got a sense of, you know, like that I don't know if I really ever conveyed that to her adequately. It's sort of too late to convey that to her, but I mean, I do and try, but yeah, I had an emotional spell like right at lunch when I was sitting across the table from her. I suddenly felt emotional, and it had something to do also with my dad this morning saying, and when I picked her up, you know, she had pulled out some memorabilia. She's always pulling shit out, and this stuff was about, like, it was about her professional achievements and her stuff. And my dad said, you know, your mom was really a high achieving woman. She did this and this, and she was teacher of the year, and she was sent to Japan on a trip and all this other sort of stuff. You know, I think that sort of then placed a seed in my head. And I wasn't really thinking about it, but when I sat across the table at lunch, I had a sense of how far the distance has been from where she once was to where she is now, you know. Anyway, it's depressing. I reframe my perspective often in order to do what I'm looking to achieve. For example, when I went vegan, I reframed my perspective to be, these are my only options. I never felt like I was missing. I'm using all of the options in my new decided perspective. I mean, if you can dictate that to yourself, great. My dad used to think he had Alzheimer's and dementias. He said he felt crazy, a solid mind he was. Cancerous brain tumor used to daddy being solid, then he wasn't quite the education of the mind. So he thought he had Alzheimer's and dementia, but he really had a brain tumor? Sorry to hear that. The thing you're doing right there, LJ, you're saying you're dictating rules to yourself, like SI rules. That make, you know, I mean, that would actually be consistent with INTJ. You'd be using SI to accomplish things in the world. But I don't know. Joey Chavadu. I really have a hard time with my family members who won't allow my grandpa to just have his dementia. I understand it's traumatic to watch someone slip away, but it's so confusing to him. You sound like you have a good approach with your mom. Distraction and living in their reality are the two top strategies we use with those with dementia to help calm them when they get fixated. Is that what it's called when they're tripping, when they're tweaking out on something? It's fixated. the term that's used. Yeah, it's weird the thing she gets fixated on. You know, like I have no idea what you're even referring to, Mom. But yeah, I think I do take a good approach with her in general. I feel comfortable with her being the way she is now, and I enjoy time I spend with her, and um, I don't worry about anything except what makes things go smoothly. That's it, you know. So it's all depressing shit. Anyway, with my grandpa, I find it's best just laugh when he goes nuts. ISFJ's not age well in regard to mind stuff. I suspect that's the case. I know that my mom did everything they recommend to maintain her mental acuity. Didn't do her a damn bit of good. And I know my friend Dave Porter's mom, ISFJ, also got dementia. And I mean, it makes sense. It just does. It makes sense because of being an SI dom. I wouldn't be surprised if ISTJs get it as well. Yeah, I agree with you. People got to stop trying to force reality. Nobody's trying to force reality on my mom. But if you had to play them in golf, who would you beat? Tom Brady or Michael Jordan? Tom Brady? Michael Jordan? I probably would beat neither of them. So I had to put on your first and fabulous hat. Okay. I will. I actually have another fabulous hat. I don't just have one fabulous hat, Amber Drescher. I'm going to wear my other fabulous hat. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I am big pimpin', as they say. As you can see, I've got or maybe you can't, it's a leopard, I believe, on my hat here. And that's because I run with the swiftness of the leopard. Everyone says so. Yeah, pretty bling. She plays with, yes, she has shit tons of toys, which is to say she's always taking out documents and underlining them and folding them. And some of them are like shit I'm always trying to take away. Like when I see she's got something from, like I took some shit from her today, because often it'll end up in the trash. She'll rip up something from like 1963 that she sent her mother and throw it in the trash. And so I try to get those things before they get destroyed. If I see the old shit, I usually, obviously I don't take away all of her toys, but I'm saying if she has some pictures from family vacation in 2004, fine, tear those up, no big deal. But if you're tearing up shit from when you were in Europe with my dad in the early 60s, I want to keep that stuff, So if I were a stripper, my stripper name would be, I think it would be Sugar Wallow. Sugar Wallow. That's my stripper name. Welcome to the stage, Sugar Wallow. Hey, boys. We want to wallow in my sugar? Here it is. You know what they say? 2 A cups makes a B, baby. You like B cups? I got one. That would be my Sugar Wallow. Sugar Wallow. Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms. That's my name. Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms. My stripper name is going to be Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms, okay? It's hard to say, but it's worth it because it's a show like no other. When you come in to see Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms strip, you're in store for both a wallow in sugar and some sparkly ass cheeks. I am going to tell you right now, my ass cheeks are naturally sparkly. It's not glitter. It's not glitter. I was born with shards of glass in my butt. The crystal. Okay, the finest crystal from Europe. I was born with it in my butt because why? My mom ate it while she was pregnant. And that's why it got embedded in my butt cheeks. Now I've got very sparkly butt cheeks. Eric, what's caused you to start learning about the cognitive functions? What has it benefited you? Well, I'm chatting with you guys here. Mostly that. It's what people wanted to watch videos about. I made lots of videos about philosophy and other shit that nobody cared about, and then started making cognitive function videos, and people like those, and so I kept making those. And and then I try to have my other shit ride the coattails of that. So I'll get like a Tide Police video gets 1,000 views, and then I'll put up, now here's a chapter of my novel, it'll get like 30 views. That's just life in the big city, but I'm happy to have a coattails of something to try to make the other things right on, I guess. And what has it benefited me in actual practice of thinking? I mean, it's changed my thinking dramatically. I think totally differently now. I have explanations for things that I didn't have explanations for before. Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms, Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms, Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms, Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms, Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms. Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms, crunchy country croutons. That's Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms' partner in the stripping contest is crunchy country croutons. So if you get tired of looking at Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms, don't worry. Next up on stage, dancing to Vanilla Ice, is crunchy country croutons. Now you want to try a challenge? Say that 5 times fast. Country crunchy croutons, and then switch the first 2 words. Crunchy country croutons. Crunchy country croutons. Country crunchy croutons. Sweet Boggs Taffy Tits McGee. I'm going to take off the McGee. I like Sweet Boggs Taffy Tits. Taffy Tits is a good name. It's a good last name. And my tits are a lot like taffy. That's true. You can pull them. You can chew them. You can make them with salt water. You sparking up your bong wearing 2 Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms hat. Yeah, this is a Sugar Wallow Sparkle Bottoms tour hat. You're right, Amber Drasher. It's a good point. I'd forgotten about our tour garb that we have. This is actually, I'll tell you something, to be perfectly honest, Amber Drasher, this is officially the archpastor's wife's bonnet, which is to say it's Kim's hat. I bought it for her early in our relationship. If you do not know, I'm the archpastor of the Elohim Church. And I don't have a bonnet like this, really. This is her bonnet, but I've kind of co-opted it when I feel like the need to have the archpastor wife's powers instead of my own. Chrissy INFJ, I love the Type Police song. You have a good voice. Thank you, Chrissy INFJ. I love positive or negative, any kind of response actually to my music, but I especially like affirmation like that. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's your NE. It's my knee. Okay, so let me pull a couple bowls here real quick. Are you going somewhere? Do you need to go somewhere? Oh, Kim kept trying to tell me I had to go somewhere, and I never found you, or I don't know, something else. Yeah, it's hard to get Kim to leave the house in this hat. I'll wear it, no problem. What pets have I owned in my lifetime? I've had a lot of pets. My mom, being an ISFJ, was really into animals. And when I was a kid, we had Pussykins, who was our cat. And Pussykins had like 5 litters of kittens. So we had various cats from her litters as well as Pussykins. And we also had guinea pigs. We had 2 guinea pigs in a hutch in the backyard until I think it was a raccoon got in and killed them. And then I I had a dog when I didn't get a dog until I was in college. I got a dog. And that was a basset hound, Winston. I had snakes when I was a kid too. I had garter snakes and other kind of snakes, and I had a bucket of feeder fish that we feed the fish to the snakes. And again, raccoons kept getting into the feeder fish and eating the fish. So, probably my favorite pet of childhood was a bird that my mom named Pretty Boy. It was a blue jay that my mom found as a little baby that was falling out of its nest or something. And she raised it with a eyedropper, and it was basically our pet, except, once it grew up a bit and could fly, it went outside and flew into the trees near our back patio. But then it would just stay there, and we'd come out and we'd feed it, and it could fly down from the tree to get its food from us. And it would fly down and sit next to you on the lawn sometimes. Like if I was a kid, so I'd be playing on the lawn or whatever. It would come down and hang out and, walk around next to you while you were playing and stuff. I love that bird, Pretty Boy, but a cat killed it. First, a cat got it one day when it was on next to us on the lawn, the kids and me, and we saw the cat get it. And then we ran and we got the cat. We crawl underneath the house to grab the cat and get the cat to give the bird back. But we did, and the bird was okay. And then not that long afterwards, though, a cat got it and it died. It was a wonderful pet. It was great. I loved it. I loved being able to go out there and go, Pretty Boy. And then the bird would fly down and you give it worms and whatever, mealworms and shit. It was great. But anyway, that was probably my favorite pet. I didn't have any really exotic pets or anything. No alligators, no emus, no elephants, no woolly mammoths. Is bong water drinkable? I mean, I wouldn't drink it. No. Yeah, if drinking bong water gave you superpowers, I probably still wouldn't drink it. It's about as gross as something can get. My friend Corey had a pet goat named Tofu, and it was a cool pet. Although they had it when Delilah and Charlie, who is Corey's child, were little, and it was dangerous because the goat wanted to come and headbutt the children and knock them over. It's just like, oh, there's a little child here, run up and push him over. So we had to wait till the kids were a little bit older, but for them to really enjoy the goat. But I liked the goat. I thought it was funny. Why the goat wanted to push the children over, I don't know. But you name one goat the greatest of all time, you get the goat. As a fellow INP, I'm curious about what experience subjects all around shit have been most. Oh, what experience, subjects, and all around shit have been most thrilling in your life? I'm bored and need somebody to feed my NE. That's a good question. That's an appropriately INP question. That's a really good question. It's an important question. So I don't want to rush an answer to it. Let me find a cigarette to light while I'm killing time here. I'm stalling. Well, okay. I'll tell you this. The most important things in my life have been things that I could make of some kind. Thank you, Christian. See, the most important choice I ever made was to start playing the guitar. Learning to really have a medium to make stuff in was important. However, one thing INPs cannot do is start something because you plan to stick with it for a long time and forget that. There's no such thing as starting something with a plan to stick with it for a long time or to every day I'm going to practice this. Forget that. But give yourself opportunity to be around the things of making and you'll find something you like to use to make shit with. And ultimately, no matter what experiences you have or how much like real time juice you get, you'll never feel satisfied unless you have a bunch of shit you've made, in my opinion, as an ENTP, because we don't really feel ourselves very real. And the SI reality of us is supplemented by objects that we make. And we start to understand ourselves as I'm the person who made that bad thing and that good thing. And this is my range of possible expression of self. So maybe it's the range of my possible self as well, that you start understanding yourself in terms of all the range of content that you generate of some sort. It doesn't have to be metaphysical content like this. It could just be, I mean, maybe you're like want to carve shit, or I don't know. I carve shit sometimes. I do physical stuff too. In fact, I'm kind of a little bit physical hungry right now. Like I want to go play with the Dremel tool and cut wood and shit a little bit, because I feel as though I'm just, my NE is and TI have just had such free reign for such a long time in general. And I get in the habit of just running with that day after day after day. I need to feel like, okay, I want to break some shit or make some shit with my hands that doesn't work right, because it never does. Not the first time anyway. Everything I try to make is a fucking disaster the first time I try to make it. I know I'm going to try to make a guitar. I know it's going to come out terrible, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then I'll try again after that probably. I've noticed you and C.S. Joseph had a long drawn back and forth argument. Are you guys ever going to have a discussion? I mean, I've invited him to come debate me or talk to me or whatever multiple times. I've offered to go to his channel and do it. I've not got any response from him of any sort. We're not having a long drawn back and forth argument at all. That's not the case. I'm establishing realities about things. I mean, I'm presenting works, real works about cognitive functions. So there's a real mechanics to it. It understands the metaframe. It is TI sound. It is ideationally insightful. It actually addresses problems with the status quo. It validates on lots of different levels. What C.S. Joseph is doing is self-help seminar shit. It's not really, cognitive functions is just the theater in which he's performing his self-help coaching thing. Let's see here. ENFP, dance teacher, create, and educate. Joey, I love that too. I go through phases where I do, and then nothing. Yeah, I'm very phasey. I think, I don't know. If you're an extrovert perceiver, you're probably pretty phasey. Decent chance. One of the things that helped me when I was depressed was to build a car engine and race a car for a while. Then I got bored. Well, that does sound like it would be interesting for the duration of it. But he says he's an ENTP. Yeah, but he's not an ENTP. Girly Lee, our ENTP typically creative? Is creativity from any? Yes, creativity is the value, so to speak, of any, or originality or novelty is another way to put it, is the value of any. And the display of any, or the actual manifestation of it, is ideation. Coming up with ideational links and on the fly, both linking back to things you've already talked about, like I always do, but also any new nub, I'm going, well, that could be this or this, and actually it would have to be this, because this would be consistent with these other things. That's my any, and then TI. Okay, lock it down. And because I have a lot of SI experience with the subject matter, and I know it really well, it's very easy for me to ideate new ideas. I just say to complete incomplete nodes, basically, on the fly at this point. Now, obviously, that's nothing remotely similar to what C.S. Joseph was doing. So, how do you find your type, Christian Hasvik? Well, you could hire me to type if you want. I do type people for money. It costs $100, 75-minute session, one-on-one, face-to-face. I'll give you some ordinals, but then I'll ask you a bunch of questions and try to get down to the bottom of a full understanding of your attentional splay and give you all the information I can about it that is useful to you, that you hopefully will find informative. So far, everybody who's done it, seems to have found it money well spent. And you can email me, ssuartschire@gmail.com. That's true for anybody watching this if you want to do that. And then you can just PayPal Cam $100, and then we'll find a slot. And it's easy to find a slot because I'm not that busy. And you'll like it. Okay. My motto has always been balls to the wall or nothing at all. It's a good motto. Sometimes you want to go balls near the wall, not all the way to the wall. I'm INFP, so I relate to the seeking options and ideation. INFPs, you have an ideational tool function. The only difference in the way that you and the NTPs act is that you primarily understand things foremost as a deliberation against your existent valuings. How much do I or do I not value this in the status quo is sort of the underlying deliberative question of your life. And then expert intuition goes, well, how can I realize visions of a world in which I value differently? So that's a very SE unfriendly way to live, but that's fine. There's no inherent goodness to SE. It's just that it tends to be one of those things where people typically expect SE from others, because if you're talking about random people in the world, you ask a waiter, can I get some coffee? You expect them to go get it for you. If your client says to you, can you tell me what to say about this? He expects you to do that for him. So, that's a little bit of a challenge for INTPs. So how do INTPs and ENTPs differ in creativity? Well, I find INTPs are more careful. They don't like to fail. And so that can serve them well or poorly, depending on how it plays out. They're more careful. They're going to do a better job of managing the details of the thing and producing a final product that's a little cleaner, a little more precise, a little bit more realized, a little more NI, frankly, even though they're 6th slot and ENTP is 5th slot. ENTP gets enamored with the ideas and doesn't think the presentation matters. INTP does a better job of remembering that. However, INTP is kind of tethered. They have to learn to untether their NE. They can be a little locked into what they think about media and art and aesthetics rather than what they know, because they're countervaluing their NI. So in my opinion, while a given completed work by an INTP may be a little more NI resonant with itself, that is to say, a more realized version of the thing that it is, the thing that it is might be less NI resonant than the thing that ENTP makes. So there's the paradoxical and interesting creativity conundrum challenge for ENTPs and INTPs.
Where's my chicken?
She was here a second ago.
You always say that.
She was. I got up to get this hat on, and I had to be careful not to run her over, and that wasn't that long ago. What do you mean by type ball? I was just making a joke about Monday Night Football, because it's not football season anymore. Yes, my husband is a little more needy with my time, and I'm like, just let me balls to the wall for now. I get that, Sheila. You're like, I'm in the middle of balls into the walls, and I don't need your shoals and convulsing. ENTPs take longer than ENTPs create something, for sure. ENTPs can pound shit out pretty quick if you get in the habit of doing it. And because we're not that picky about it being great or being finished or being done or being right or anything. We're just good. Yeah, it's SE. Let's just do it. Your INTPs generally make good musicians. Do you have any guitar tips? One of my favorite. Here we go. One of my favorite local musicians that I know personally is an INTP, and he's great. He's really good. His name's Mateo Katsu. He has a lot of good music. And as far as any guitar tips goes, I'd say you're smartest to try to learn to there's many different sort of strumming patterns or rhythmic approaches to the same couple of things. If you're trying to effectively ideate to improve your skill as a guitarist, I'd say do so rhythmically rather than fingerly. Do so right hand rather than left hand, basically. You're better off working your right hand than your left. Do you prefer Vaseline or bacon grease for lube? I guess it would depend what I'm lubricating. I start to feel trapped and stifled during times when I'm unable to get ideas out of my head and into the world. A creative outlet is necessary for my sanity. Yeah, well, I do too, Rowan Morgan. Like I was saying just yesterday or the day before or something, when I have to ride in the car for a long time and I'm stuck in a place where my ideas are going around in my head and I could put them out onto a video. Like I can record myself talking, but that doesn't really do it for me anymore. I'm not sure why. I feel the need to be more I no longer just muse on video. I have nothing else to accomplish with that or something. I'm not sure. But I too need to feel like I'm getting shit out. And like this on the other hand is not just musing on video. This is engaging with other people's musings in the context of this.
Rather than the musings you should be engaging with.
Okay, well, I told you when you're ready to go. I finished this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I'm ready to just stop this if that's what you'd like.
No.
I don't like. Okay, well, I need to stop it anyway because I have to go get more cigarettes. So anyway, I'm gonna call it a live stream. Do you two? Let me answer a couple questions though. Do you two agree on anything at all? Who? Me and Kim? Yeah.
Do you two what?
Do you two agree on anything at all? Yeah, we agree on lots of stuff, I guess. It's not disagreement. This is not disagreement. This is just Kim feeling her feelings are feeling I'm not emotionally engaged with her and lashing out. Husband is a slow burn, constant 9 to 5 type, good balance of work and life. I'm decidedly not that. Yeah, I'm not that either. I think since mom's death a few months ago, I haven't got back to my normal self. Just want to veg out and don't want to adult. Yeah, adulting's not that fun. Ryan, Lamau, Kim. Rowan Morgan, me too. I write prose in pain. Often when I write, I begin to understand what I'm feeling, thinking only as I type the words out and see them in the black in front of me. Unfortunate for a lefty who plays righty. Oh, so then, okay, yeah. That is unfortunate. My condolences, Sheila. Yeah, I really suck at rebounding from life sucking. I need a lot of repair time. I need a lot of repair time just from stubbing my toe. The greatest guitar lesson I ever got was, if it sounds good, it is good. That's a good point. I adore you, Kim, says Amber Drasher. Kim, we need him. I adore you too. Kim, we need him also, says Michael Thompson. Christian Hasvik, you and Chase, not you and Kim, lol. Oh, C.S. Joseph? I mean, like I said, he's not engaging ideationally really with things. So it's not like I could agree or disagree with him. He's doing self-help stuff with people. Okay. He's interfacing with people about how they can help themselves and improve their lives or whatever. And that's great. And I think that he's got his thing going on, and I'm not trying to criticize or anything, but he's not doing any ideational work of any sort, whether he's not even doing other people's ideational work. So to say that I don't agree with him is to suggest that there's something to agree or disagree with. There's really not. He's just he's got his package of ideas that he likes to say and present, but they don't withstand any TI scrutiny. And it's not a matter of, I'm sure I could find things to agree with that he said, but you're missing the point. Okay. C.S. Joseph's celebrity typing drives me nuts. Well, it's because it's completely wrong. I write and create 3D drawings, says Rowan Morgan. My ideas also become more solidified when written out. Hashtag banter, exploring understanding of one another. Just think about it. Is there any meaningful way to define introversion and extroversion? Yeah, it's the quality that goes along with your first function. So if you're extrovert first function, you're extroverted. If you're introvert first function, you're introverted. Is that not answering your question? Yes, it is not really answering your question. Not really. I don't have an answer. Nothing comes to mind at the moment to answer that question in an interesting way. So I'm going to skip it, but it's a good question. Introversion gains mental energy alone. Extrovert gains mental energy when around others. That's the traditional definition that I've usually gone with, which is that if you get energized by interaction with others, then you're an extrovert. If you get de-energized,
out of you,
then you're an introvert. That's a pretty good definition. Have a great night, everybody. Bye, Amber Drasher. Thank you very much, Amber. Anetta H. Peace out. Jojo Shabadoo. Goodbye. Brenda Lee. See you later, Brenda Lee. And goodbye, everybody.